Happy New Year! And even though there's football on today, you should be watching the Wealth Transfer News. I'm Terry Sacka, Chief Strategist, along with Dr. Charles Vance. Welcome to 2017, everyone. And we're I guess one step closer to the reckoning. I just know it. You know, when we go to The Economist magazine, they had that 2018 emblem on that phoenix. And I just know we're close enough. That's all. And I wish maybe I could even play that image. I don't know, but for those that have never seen it, The Economist magazine does show this phoenix, and this was done in the 80s, mind you. They show this phoenix standing on a pile of burning fiat currency, and a phoenix is a rebirthing of death, coming from death and a rebirth. And then around its neck was a new global currency coin that said 2018. So as we showed you on the charts, over the last couple of weeks, you kind of get an idea that the money printing, obviously they were able to do it. 45 years they were able to do that. It takes time. So they were able to print money, pull it in, print money, 35 years worth. It worked, but I think they knew that. They knew eventually it would run out because this Keynesian model of building towers of debt eventually collapses, and so they know. But they had 35 years of political power, run, war, and if you've noticed, that's what we did, right? We had Vietnam, Gulf Wars. It's pretty interesting. So the money printing has had its purpose, but it has come to an end. And we're going to get today and show you how the baby boomer generation, which was the financial builder during that era, is changing the absolute dynamics of what America is. And no other generation really has a chance coming up. They just don't. There will always be those select few that will strive to excellence because they refuse to be mediocre. They refuse to be an entitlement baby, like a lot of these children these days that want their free college and free food, even though it's coming from someone who's paying for it. But it can't sustain, obviously, and we're bound to see the results of that.
Terry, the financial elite, it's sad, but the stuff that I've read, the history that I've read on the financial elite, they really don't care about people in general.
That's for sure.
I'm sure you know this, that it was the same bank that financed the American side of the war and Hitler's side of the war. They were loaning money to both sides. That's just one example. That
was the Bank of New York, and that was Prescott Bush. Yes, the Bush family patriarch.
And it's happened over and over again throughout history, where the same bank will loan both sides that are in war because they know one side is going to win, and they don't really care what's happening to people. It's just making them richer and richer. And it's really sad that people evolve into money being their God to that degree.
That's an excellent point right there. Yeah.
And it's just so dangerous for us. Yeah. We need to be on guard. I want to do this real quick if you don't care.
Sure.
Proverbs chapter 6 says, "Go to the ant, thou sluggard." Now, a sluggard is somebody who's slow, sluggish, lazy, and really the Hebrew definition even includes stupid. He said, and watch this, "Consider her ways and be wise." Watch the ant. He said he doesn't have any guide, overseer, or ruler, but yet he provides her meat in the summer, gathers her food in the harvest. "How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard, when wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? A little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man," or a robber. Did you hear what that said?
Robber.
Somebody robbing you. Are you going to fold your hands? Are you just going to sit, twiddle your thumbs, is what the old folks used to say. Just sit and do nothing. He said the wise person is someone that will look at somebody that has been wise and will mimic what they're doing. In fact, Paul said that the Apostle Paul said that we need to imitate those who through faith and patience have inherited God's promises. Patience means constancy, that we learn to be a person that is constant and that we be a person that is wise, not sluggish, slow, lazy, even stupid, but we do what we need to do. Don't fold your hands. Don't just sit, say, okay, everything's going to be fine. get up and do something and provide for yourself. Make provision for your future.
And you know, Charles, when you said the word, I just sighed, and I really hate to even say it, but it's actually true. I used to be a financial advisor, and most people are really sluggish to their finances, meaning most do not know what their financial statements say. They don't know what they're invested in. They have no idea what it means.
They're trusting an advisor.
They're trusting in an advisor, and the advisor is supposed to be your friend, and I understand, but he is educated in the systems of the world, which is controlled by Lucifer, and in the fiat. Problem is, we don't know. And so here, sound money all through history would have always benefited us as the people. And we don't know that because we're sluggard to our knowledge of our own finances. It's time we take our finances absolutely serious, because if we don't, you're going to find out the hard way. And I know folks that have bought probably silver 2-3 years ago, oh, it's not moving, it's this, but you're in the wrong place then with it. This is for retirement. These are IRA protections. This isn't about get rich quick. Charles says that a lot. It is a storage of value over time, always has been. And in lieu of everything we know for data, it will be a nice place to be. Now, I mean, look at this. We talked about the baby boomer. Look at this chart. It's a kind of a complicated chart, but these are, now what this is a 15 to 60-year-old annual population growth versus debt and GDP. Now, here's the stunner. This goes all the way back to 1950. The blue you're seeing in the graph is the population growth. And then you're seeing the black line, of course, is the world. The red is debt. If you've noticed, our population in the world, everything was exploding through the 50s up into the 80s. Then the population started declining. At the time the population started declining, you notice the red line started increasing, to the point now the world has hundreds of trillions in debt. And if you notice, what we produce started increasing, but not nearly as fast as population. Now catch the part there in 2003, right near 9/11. Population dramatically decreased. And now these are populations in the context of also world production, meaning producing population. People who actually are spending money and part of the population. So if you've noticed, our population went from blue straight down and now red, and the projection from today going forward is all red, meaning we're going to have tremendous debt, no population that has any wealth to do anything with that debt, because the millennials are struggling already just to barely survive for rent, food, and necessities. This is an extraordinary image because you cannot change the demographic. The folks are retiring. They're not spending the money anymore. The youthful generation have a very difficult task at hand. They go to college and they spend $100,000, $200,000, come out and spend half their life repaying that debt. You come out of college and you're lucky to get a job for $30,000 and you can't even survive on.
And is it fair to say that many of those folks that go to college never use the education?
No, they never do.
They never use it. My son-in-law spent seven years in college, right. Became a sports medicine manager, whatever it was called. He specialized in sports medicine. When he got out, he had gotten a job as a mortgage broker and was making more money than what he would have made and had no education concerning the mortgage business. And Kelly and I were talking about the other day how much money is wasted on education that people never use.
Never use. And not only that, the thing is, here's education, that's virtually free, and you're going to get more than you ever would in college. See, colleges and next to being a doctor or something, colleges have pretty much become indoctrination of little baby diaper wearing children that have the socialist leaning, progressive liberal socialist teachings, and they're pathetically sad in the sense that they're crybabies, they're whiners, and that's not how you become a strong nation. If a strong nation wants to take us over, these people probably couldn't even drive a nail into a wall. And I know that's a broad stroke. There are definitely some highly intelligent, sophisticated, and strong individuals. And yes, masculinity, there's nothing wrong with that as a warrior. To all you liberals who, hate that. Point is, you're not going to, it's time for the clock to turn. We're going back to principled values. We're going back where men, it's okay to be strong and masculine. Women, it's okay to be a lovely feminine mother and carer of the family. There's no problem with that. The point is, our society is flipping. That chart we're showing you is real. We have to educate ourselves on the broader picture, because when these baby boomers decline, that's why this big, massive deflation call is taking place. Here's the thing. The deflation call cannot happen in Keynesian economics. We're going to get to that very shortly here. Until then, first, let's take this break. Take this serious. I would write down the number, write down the website, register for information. Happy New Year to you. I would be making wise choices going forward this year because it's getting close. So take a look at this.
Are you concerned about the security of your financial future? Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you prepare for the extraordinary times ahead by protecting and preserving your assets through silver and gold. At Cornerstone, the protection and preservation of your investment is our first goal. So we are here to serve you with honesty, transparency, and respect. Take control of your future by registering on our website at cornerstoneassetmetals.com or call us toll-free at 888-747-3309. Call now, 888-747-3309. At Cornerstone, securing your future is our goal.
Now, I'd like to show an image of public debt going back to the 1880s up until now. And then after the image of this public debt, I'd like you to see a really, really good, well-orchestrated explanation of Keynesian economics. And this is not boring if you want to understand who, what, where, when, why, and how we are in the Western world. This video is going to give you an explanation of what Keynesian economics is. This is what our model is all about, but here is the consequence of a Keynesian economic model. I'm going to skip ahead here, I think, to, if I could do this. This would be good if I could pull that off. I'm sorry, I'm going to flip ahead because I want to see this. Here it is. 1880 to 2015. We've only had a handful of spikes where we advanced in our debt, and it was World War I, Great Depression, and World War II. Now, we come in 1913, there was no debt issues really, because prior to that, if you notice on the left, we were going down in debt, down in emerging in the world, even in America. Why? Because everyone was tied to gold, and so they had a budget constraint. We went to war right after the Federal Reserve created. Why? So we could spend money, conquer, and move people around. World War I, Great Depression, World War II. Well, if you've noticed, what you see there is something that looks almost like a soup bowl being created. We came all the way down with debt and went all the way back up. Now, why did we come down with debt after World War II? That's because we conquered the world in the war and took 70% of all the world's gold after World War II and became extremely wealthy. Problem is, we started spending it unbelievably out of control. And now we're right back up, as you see to the right side, like a bowl. Down, up, down, and up. The reason I'm saying this is important for two factors. Number one, our world and emerging markets are not nearly as bad as advanced markets like the Western world. We are considered advanced. That red line is the West. This chart is my reasoning and example of to why something has to happen. They need a war or they need some event to offset the egregious behavior in money printing.
No, you're not advocating that. You're just saying the system itself, in order for it to keep operating,
absolutely,
has to have the debt of the war.
It has to. Well, what happens is, if you notice in the peaks happen in debt, and then war happens, brings the debt down. Mm-hmm. Great Depression, we got too high in debt. We had to bring it down.
Sure.
Then we skyrocketed World War II because we spent too much money, more than we had, gold. And then it collapsed again because we took everyone else's gold from the war. Mm-hmm. Now, ever since World War II, we have been growing in our debt where we're peaking at World War II levels. I'm really saying that the elites, the banking elites, need something to trigger to get out of the really bad money management they're in.
And it's going to be something major.
It has to be.
It has to be something major.
The last three majors in the last 100 years was 2 world wars and a depression.
Sure.
The next one, that's why you hear these calls for World War III. You hear these. I just believe something's coming because the debt is unsustainable. A lot of people think we can stay in debt forever. We can't. And so you see, if we can't stay in debt forever, what's going to play of this? Now, there's going to be a lot of hurting souls during this time. If you go back to World War II and do your studies, there were tremendous, just the devastation was horrible from Europe and America. Don't think it's not possible because we've never seen it, and most of us alive today have never been a part of it. That's that normalcy bias. All the charts show something is coming. I just merely want us to be aware of it because we're not paying attention to the reality. And we in the kingdom can be protected if we're in the right place. So what I want to do is I want to get into a video of Keynesian economics. If you understand how they've been orchestrating this all along, how it started back in the 1913, you see how we were really decently managed in the late 1800s up to 13. And then ever since that central bank this central bank's the bad news. We need to get rid of it, but it's going to take a bigger person than me to do that. But you see how since their creation, orchestrated major events were needed to recalculate the financial system. And in the mega trillions the world has been printing recently since 2008, something has to give in order for the world to reset the financial system. That's why when you hear us call for a reset, it's because if you understand how history is played out, this can't just keep going straight up. A reckoning must take place. And understanding our economic model is the best way to get started. We should have been, and by the way, before this video plays, we should have been an Austrian economic Western world. The debate was taking place back in the day between Austrian economists and Keynesian. Keynesian is the darling of the left, the socialists. He is a socialist. And Keynesian economics is about spending money and taking on debt. That's why they created credit cards. And even Mr. J.C. Penney himself said they shouldn't be doing that. If you can't afford it, you shouldn't buy it. But our model, the American dream, was designed around debt. Now, when you have debt, you're slave to the lender. And that's a biblical principle. And so what we need to understand is this was orchestrated. Austrian economics was biblical. Austrian was producing and saving. If we would have been Austrian economics in the early 20th century, we'd be a significantly wealthier nation today without any of the baggage we have over us right now. And all those lives would have been saved because the wars probably wouldn't have happened. So it's a macro understanding of where we've come from. Let's check out this Keynesian economic video. Really settle in on this because it'll really give you a good explanation.
It is not an exaggeration to say that the end of abnormal unemployment is in sight. And it isn't only the unemployed who will feel the difference. A great number besides will be taking home better money each week. The grand experiment has begun. If it works, if expenditure on armaments really does cure unemployment, I predict that we shall never go back all the way to the old state of affairs. Good may come out of evil. We may learn a trick or two which will come in useful when the day of peace comes.
If we can cure unemployment through the expenditure, You see, there's something, what they were trying to do was during World War II, especially during Hitler time, they were trying to say if we spend money and go into debt, we can finance and cure the unemployment. Now, initially, that may have made sense in rebuilding of Europe, but it was a flawed concept because it was socialist at its nature. It evolved. And what's happened now is we have done tens of trillions of debt. We have more poor now today than when the war on poverty began. We've spent some $16 trillion on the war on poverty. And this Keynesian model was about let's print money, go into debt to cure unemployment. Is the unemployment today in 2016-17 cured? No. We have 100 million Americans not in the employment world. We spend $1 trillion a year on welfare. The model is completely flawed because you can't keep printing money into the stratosphere. You see, it's flawed. There was no check and balance. And the unemployment, of course, is non-existent or is well over 10% plus. We're in Great Depression territory.
So it's like we're trying to make a loan to someone to employ someone. So
yes,
I'll loan
right.
you money if you'll hire some more people.
Pretty
and
much,
I'll
yes.
just keep loaning you.
But who's paying back the debt? You see?
Exactly.
Now, the profits of the enterprise were supposedly supposed to pay back the debt. But right now, the concept is so flawed that we are now at a reckoning period. 2008 was it. Actually, 9/11 was the reckoning call. We are done. We have supported atrocities like ISIS. We are that in the Middle East. We have partnered with the most wicked establishment of Saudi Arabia and Wahhabi, jihadi, Al-Qaeda type Arabs, bottom line. And they're all infiltrating our government. Hopefully President Trump will eliminate that. There's nothing good about Islam in the Western world. Sorry, that's 100 times proven. Just look at Europe. The point is, we have fallen so down now, our economies can't recover. Now, this seems depressing, but here's the exciting part. Even though we're going through this period in history, if we are in the right place, if we are properly financially protected with real sound money, we will be significantly wealthier because all along, if we would have done it, we'd be millionaires today. So this is really exciting stuff.
Some of the wealthiest people in the last 200 years have come out of horrible financial situations because they've positioned themselves properly.
Yeah.
And wealth transfer, we've talked about this numerous times, and maybe you haven't seen enough of the older programs to understand this, but wealth is always moving. It's moving.
Well, it transfers, right?
It
yes.
transfers. It doesn't just disappear. It doesn't. When people talk about losing a home, as tragic as that is, the house doesn't dissipate into the atmosphere. It transfers ownership. So there's always wealth that is moving, is transferring ownership. We've just got to get ourselves in a position where the wealth can be transferred to us and not from us. That's the key. That's the whole point of this program.
That's the whole point, you see. And we've gone into deficits to the point now where we're hitting a wall. What I'd like to do before we go, I'd like to play the Reagan video to help remind people what Ronald Reagan recognized when he became president. He knew that this model of printing money we didn't have was going to be devastating. Now, granted, it took time. Is it?
Has he got enough time to play it?
I think we did.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So we have time to play it, right? Okay, good. Let's do this because what he was trying to warn us, now it took time since Reagan, but he was saying the reckoning will come if we do this. Take a look at this magnificent clip from Ronald Reagan, one of our great presidents, trying to warn us back in the day, which now today we're starting to hit that reckoning. This is phenomenal. I just can't even believe it.
Does he have the video?
Oh, he has it. Yeah, I maybe
okay.
didn't give him enough time. He'll bring it up
All
in
right.
just a second. But
All right.
if you understand it, well, do we have? I don't know if we have enough time now, right? Maybe we don't.
We can do it on next.
Believe that the
We'll do it
issues
next week.
confronting
Oh,
us
yeah.
across party lines, outside of its legitimate functions, government does nothing as well or as economically as the private sector of the economy. For 3 decades, we've sought to solve the problems of unemployment through government planning, and the more the plans fail, the more the planners plan. A government can't control the economy without controlling people. And they know when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose. Somewhere a perversion has taken place. Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government. And freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp as it is at this moment.
Now that took place, Keynesian economics came in, our magnificent President Reagan recognized that, and what he was telling us, and if we've noticed today, we've lost our freedoms, we're losing we're losing everything. We're losing our ability to produce,
and being
regulations,
manipulated.
taxes.
Being manipulated by the government.
Massive manipulation. Yeah. And so what's happened is we have hit, since 2008, you've noticed this ramp up of government intrusion. And thank God, hopefully President Trump takes us back to a constitutional America, but we'll just have to wait and see how the powers to be are going to fight. But just know that being properly positioned financially is essential. This has been going on. I know it takes time, but Reagan outlined perfectly what was going to happen, and we now are seeing it right now today play out. I just think it's extraordinary. And for those that procrastinate, it may be too late because the supply of silver isn't forever, and you will pay one way or the other, and higher premiums or not. So get educated, get registered for information, at least write it down. So when the time comes, you're ready to get that call done because you need to be educated, and Cornerstone will be glad to do that for you.
You can watch more of these programs at cornerstoneassetmetals.com. I encourage you to tell somebody about the broadcast. We're on at this same time every week right here, same place, same time. We're going to be back next week, same place, same time. Join us then. Have a great week.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those of you who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you who have cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call our toll-free number or register on our website now.